Right. And all right, welcome back to You Talk Sports for tonight's final round of the play-in game. It is the Sacramento Kings against the New Orleans Pelicans. It is do or die. The winner makes the playoffs. The loser starts their summer vacation. Welcome back to You Talk Sports for tonight's final round of a little bit of all right, welcome back to You Talk Sports for tonight's final round of the play-in game. It is the all right. Welcome back to You Talk Sports for that comes in from your play-in game. It is the all right. Welcome back to where that echo is coming from. From your playing game. It is all right. Why does that keep replaying? Keep yourself on mute so I can isolate these, see where that's coming from. All right. Keep yourself on mute so I can isolate these, see where that's coming from. All right. All right, there we go. A little bit of tech glitches there. As you can see behind me, we are going to be broadcasting live for the Pelicans and the Kings game tonight. We will be having the YouTube chat going. And if you want to come join us here in Zoom, just comment in the YouTube chat saying the word Zoom, and we'll drop you the link to come join us here. And Alvin has already popped in, and Alvin is joining us with his Pelicans hat on, ready to go. And love to get your take. What do you expect to see happen in this game tonight, Alvin?
I fully expect us to go 6-0 tonight against the Sacramento Kings. I know it's going to be difficult to try to get 6 in a row on them for the season, but even in with Zion in and out of the lineup, the Pelicans have been more than enough and more than up to the challenge to defeat the Sacramento Kings. De'Aaron Fox is a great player. Sabonis is another great player, but the Kings others never have enough for our bench. Our bench is one of the top scoring benches in the league. And they have something to prove to get that monkey off their back, with us now being 1-6 at home in this last stretch in the regular season, and including the play-in playoff portion. Tonight, I think CJ McCollum definitely has something to prove. He had scored 25 points in the last 6 games, but when it counted in Game 7 in the play-in, he did not show up. So tonight, I think he has the opportunity to show up and show out, to make those threes, to get to the bucket, to facilitate for everybody else. I'm not too worried about the Pelicans. I think they can get this done tonight.
All right, great take, and looking forward to this game. Of course, Zion was taking it to LeBron when last we saw him. Zion is out for tonight and likely out for the season, even if the Pelicans were to win. As you mentioned, CJ McCollum, I mean, he's carried a team as a number 2 guy, right? Him and Lillard took that team to the Western Conference Finals. McCollum hit a lot of big shots in that, and one and done. As far as who's the most experienced player in this game, it's McCollum. So it's going to be on his shoulders to pull it out tonight. And I'm excited to see this. Of course, New Orleans will be at home as well. So they'll have that as an edge. They'll have these fans behind them who have been dying to get into the playoffs here. And the winner of this game will be the 8th seed. So they'll be taking on Oklahoma City. It was funny. Some of the Lakers fans were telling me that they thought they should lose that game on purpose because they didn't want to play Denver. And that was a little bit of crazy talk, I thought. But I think you'd rather be getting Oklahoma City than Denver. So this game is scheduled to tip off at still about 20 minutes from now. What we're going to do right now is tune in to the Miami Heat game. We're going to pull up the audio and watch that, as well as watch the GameCast box score. If you're watching us live, go ahead and comment in the YouTube chat. and tell us who you're picking for tonight, whether you're taking Pelicans or the Kings. And if you'd like to join us here on Zoom, just comment saying Zoom, and we will drop you the link to come join us on Zoom. I'm going to come over here and put in my pick, just so I'm going head to head with Alvin for tonight. I'm going to take Kings and over for this game, as I'm sure Alvin will be taking the Pelicans. I do think that Sabonis and Fox are going to be too much to handle. The Kings have some injuries themselves. Their sixth man of the year has been out for a while now and wasn't playing for them down the stretch. I think that's a big reason why they slid down to where they are. The winner of this game that's on right now, it's Miami and Chicago. Miami's really opened it up. They're up by 27 in the fourth. So we're going to have Boston versus Miami in a first round matchup. That was the Eastern Conference Finals last year. I'm obviously a Boston fan. I'm wearing my green here today. And, people are saying, oh, you don't want to play Miami. That's the one team you don't want. I think it's exactly the opposite. I think it is the team. We're the top team. We're not scared of anybody. Go ahead and bring on Miami. If we're going to win the championship, then we want to take on all callers, and this is Boston's year to do it. So let's check in on that game in terms of the scoring here. Have you been watching this game, Alvin, or are you just tuning in now?
At the fourth time in the last 5 years that the Heat and the Celtics will.
I cut into it earlier. I was watching a little bit earlier, but it didn't grab my fancy, so I decided to wait for the Pelicans Kings game.
Yeah.
Because the Heat are going through the same situation. Their star player may be out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Butler. Did Butler not play tonight then?
At this point, you can feel reasonably
confident.
Yeah. 5:51
Yeah, here they are. So that's a good sign for what the Pelicans might be able to do.
The Bulls, in general, they had played decently for a huge chunk of this season as well. We know they got off to a really poor start this year. We're 5-14, but then we're 5 games over 500 the rest of the way. Obviously, no Zach LaVine with the injury all year again. No Lonzo.
And I really didn't think Chicago was going to present too much of a challenge to Miami. Chicago's front line doesn't have what it takes to play against Miami's front line.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think overall, if I look at the teams that are in the playoffs in the East and the West, the two teams that didn't seem to belong were, Chicago and the Hawks. And they're the teams that are getting bounced here. I think the top 8 of the East is just as good as the top 8 of the West, in my opinion. People like to talk about how dominant the West is, but these teams in the East, I mean, going against Embiid as a 7 seed, I think that's as formidable as anything. Let's go through just a breakdown of what the matchups are going to be heading into this weekend and kind of preview that while the Heat game is on a commercial right now and while we're waiting for the Pelicans game to kick off. The vibe, by the way, if you're watching us on YouTube, the vibe that we always go for here is just as if we were hanging out in our living room watching the game together. So we'll have the audio on from the game. We'll replay the highlights of the game, and we'll be giving our takes on all things related to the NBA here tonight. So looking at this standings here, Alvin. Let's start with this Clippers Mavericks matchup. The 4-5 matchup usually is the best matchup in every first round series. What do you expect to see in that matchup?
I definitely expect to see a Mavericks team that's ready for the challenge. I can't pinpoint, but it seems like with the contract that they gave Kyrie, Cuban, Luka, whatever issues they had at the beginning, they seem to gel together at the right time to come together as a family and synergy. They definitely have synergy in that backcourt now. And I think this is going to be an exciting series, one of the better series in the first round of the playoffs that everybody's going to be captivated by to see whether or not Kyrie and Luka can get it done. Because if they can beat the Clippers, they can make a nice deep run at least to the Western Conference Finals.
Well, that's a bold prediction right there, that they can make it to the Western Conference Finals. So this is our Clippers Mavericks. This is our tournament view here game we're talking about here. So, when I look to who I pick in the playoffs, there's typically three things that I look for in the teams that I pick. Number one is playoff experience. Do they have who's the more experienced team? Kawhi, has won a championship, so that heavily weights towards the Clippers for me. But Luka has brought his team to the conference finals. Overall, I would say that I would give the edge to the Clippers in terms of playoff experience, because outside of Luka and Kyrie, the rest of that lineup does not have a lot of playoff experience. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I look to is who's the better defensive team. And I think Dallas is not a very good defensive team. Kawhi, of course, is a great defensive player. I think the Clippers' weakness is inside, and Dallas is not an inside team. So I would give the Clippers the edge there as well. And then the third thing, so the first thing I look for is playoff experience. The second thing is defense. The third thing is do you have a closer? Both these teams have proven closers, Kawhi and Luka. I'd give probably a slight edge to Kawhi there. So across the board, to me, the Clippers have the edge in this series, and they're the favorite, so they have home court advantage, which if it comes to a game 7 would be big. But it's also big in that you get those first 2 games at home to start the series. If you go up 2-0 at home, you really have put the other team into a hole. But everything is pointing to the Clippers. And I'm a Kyrie hater, being a Boston guy. I don't think he's very good for team chemistry. Yet, with all of that going, I find myself wanting to pick Dallas. It's like I think Luka is just that good that and the Clippers seem to have fallen apart in recent years in the playoffs. It seems like every year someone gets hurt. So I think I'm with you in terms of breaking down that game. And going to pick the Mavericks as well. Now I don't know that they can get out of the next round, but that's my take on Dallas. Let's see, how do we move a team forward here? I don't know if this will let us advance the brackets. It'll just show us the brackets. All right, so let's go next to the games that we know are going to happen in this Timberwolves Thunders matchup. What do you expect to see happen there, Alvin?
The Timberwolves versus the Suns.
Yeah, Timberwolves Suns. That's it. That's right.
The Timberwolves. That's going to be. I'm going to pick that to go 7 because I really don't. I like the Timberwolves. Don't get me wrong. I love Ant-Man, but I don't think the Timberwolves have enough to beat the Phoenix Suns in a 7-game series. Booker's been there too many times. Like you said, all the things that you were looking for with the Clippers, I see that in the Suns as well over the Timberwolves. And then looking at that match, looking at the Western side of it, and just trying to be objective, if the Pelicans had Zion Williamson tonight going forward, the Pelicans are in a better spot. I can understand for some people saying why the Lakers should have taken that spot, but the Lakers actually have something to prove against Denver to see whether or not they have what it takes. If they really have championship aspirations, they will have to get it done against the Nuggets. The Pelicans have a better chance. They stood no chance against the Nuggets if they had gotten the 7th spot to play in that position to win a series. Their best shot is to knock out an inexperienced OKC team who's going to be just as young as they are. They don't have that playoff experience. They would have a shot. That would actually clear the way for the Suns and the Suns, Clippers, or the Mavericks in the West. That's what I love about the West playoff situation. But now with Zion not being there, I would give I would give, if they were to make it in tonight, I would give OKC the advantage to move out that first round. And the Suns and the Timberwolves, I just give the Suns an edge because of all the playoff experience that they have on that team.
Gotcha. So you're taking Suns to win against Minnesota. And
Yeah.
yeah, they do have the experience with Booker and Durant. Beal really hasn't been in the playoffs much that I can remember. And so they have, those guys are closers as well. I don't know that they're great defenders. I think Minnesota's probably the better defensive team. This, to me, Minnesota just has a great roster, a great team. And obviously they have home court advantage as well. I've never been impressed with Durant in the playoffs. And the makeup of that team, the way they basically start those three, right? Durant, Booker, and Beal, and then Grayson Allen. It's like four guys that shoot threes out there. I just don't think that is a roster that's built for the playoffs and for winning. So I expect to see Minnesota win that, especially with Karl Anthony Towns back. I expect to see Minnesota win that series. Although I think it is a tough matchup for Minnesota. Minnesota is more built to go against the bigs since they have the two bigs. So next game you already kind of touched on was Lakers Nuggets. I think this is exactly what Denver did not want. Anytime you have LeBron and AD, you've got a puncher's chance to win a series. They got swept pretty bad last year. As you mentioned, this would be kind of a revenge series. I don't know that LeBron and AD will have enough gas to do it. But if anybody can slow Jokic down, it's got to be Davis. So I expect to see that to be a tough series as well. OKC, I think we'll roll over the Kings or the Pelicans now that Zion's not there. You made an interesting point. If Zion was there, then they in the 8th seed, they'd have their best matchup against OKC. Neither team has much playoff experience. And then if they were to win that, so that would bring the 8th seed forward. I can't remember if the NBA reseeds or if they do it like a bracket. Do you remember, Alvin? I think
I actually think that they do reseed. So let's say the 2 seed advanced in the next round, and the 1 seed, the 2 will now become the overall in the West, and they would take 2 versus 8.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense, and that's what they do in football too. I think that's more fair instead of a bracket style of this. I'm trying to remember. Last year would be a good year to remember because last year Miami was the 8th seed and knocked off the Milwaukee Bucks, right? And then
Yeah,
after that they played.
Boston, I think.
No, they
Did they
played
play
Boston in
Boston?
the Eastern Conference Finals. So maybe they don't reseed because they didn't play Boston until the Eastern Finals. Right. Boston played Philly in the second round. They played Atlanta in the first round, and they played Miami in the third round. So based on that, my recollection of last year, they didn't reseed that. But let's look to the East and so then coming down to the West, I think we're like you. The Mavericks will give the Thunder a good battle. We both pick the Mavericks. You think the Mavs have a chance against the Thunder?
It depends on if Luka and Kyrie really get off in that series and the others do their job as far as defending and shooting the three, and whether some of that other shooting would travel on the road. If it doesn't travel, I don't think they would stand a chance in that series. But if it did travel, the defense and their 3-point shooting travel to let Luka and Kyrie keep that game close where they could just take the game over in the last 2 to 3 minutes of a game, I think they could win that series.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you about the role players being the key. I think Luca and Kyrie will go off. They'll go off the whole series. It doesn't matter for those two, home or alone, but the two of them are not going to be enough to beat that OKC team. They've got a solid roster, so I expect to see them advance. So that would put OKC into the Western Conference Finals. And this to me is I think the two best teams in the West than Minnesota and Denver. What do you think would happen in that game, that series rather?
Minnesota and Denver, we would have a hard fought series. But again, you're talking about the Joker. What's the answer for the Joker? Uh, Joe Bear would have to have the defensive of the year uh, performances. He would actually have to be defensive of the year player performance and score at least double digit points if they really want to take that series. It really comes down to the front line of Minnesota at that point. If the front line, because you're not going to stop the Joker, but if you can neutralize him where it's even, and let the Ant-Man do his closing thing, it gives them a chance.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like Minnesota's really built to take on Denver. That doesn't mean they're going to be able to beat them, but they've got two bigs in there. So they could even put Towns on Joker and then have Gobert play weak side help, which would stop Joker inside. The problem with that when you do that is Denver's other two guys are 6'10". Gordon and Porter
Exactly.
they'll come in and crush you on the boards. That's what kept happening to Boston. I think the Joker is that good. You can't stop him at all. That the only way you can beat him is if you can trade threes for twos. That's why I think Boston might have a chance to beat Denver in the finals. And but I don't know that Minnesota really has the 3-point firepower. I've been really impressed with the Ant-Man this year. I honestly had never seen him play before this year. And I watch a lot of NBA. Of course, I mostly watch Boston, but you guys on the show went back, around the All-Star game. We're talking about, hey, who's potentially gonna be the face of the NBA going forward when LeBron passes the torch. And the Ant-Man, was a name that came up a lot. And that really put him onto my radar to start watching. And then, of course, this year he's had like probably at least 5 like plays that are like, play of the year plays, whether it's his block or his dunk. So the Ant-Man, he seems ready to emerge. And it kind of reminds me of the LeBron team when he was I think it was his 3rd year, right? And LeBron. The Detroit Pistons with Chauncey Billups had been to the finals back-to-back years, and LeBron, just emerged and took over and got that team to the finals. They didn't win the championship, but maybe the Ant-Man, this would be his stage to do that. What's your take on the Ant-Man? You think could be ready to go to that level in this playoffs?
Well, for the last last 4 years, we've just been talking about the young. So it was Ja Morant with his performances, Zion Williamson with his performances. But guess who's been Mr. Consistency on and off the floor? It's been the Ant-Man. At first, we knew him for just these highlight dunks. No one was really paying attention until he was going back and forth with Ja Morant, showing you a little of the step back shooting game, getting to the rack, all these different things. And now look, he's putting his team in position to take that mantle or the torch from a Ja Morant who couldn't handle his business off the court. So he is definitely letting America see, and he will definitely shine in this year's playoffs. And I'm very interested to see, because if the Pels get knocked out tonight, I'm going to be a Minnesota Timberwolves fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch. If it's not this year, it's coming soon. The Ant-Man's emergence, and so we shall see. So that's the Western Conference breakdowns. Let's quickly look over to the East. The Miami game has just ended. We'll pop in and check the final score here as well.
Hey,
So,
Greg, we have Isaiah Hudson trying to get in.
oh, okay, yeah. Thanks for letting me know. Let me drop the Zoom link into the YouTube chat for Isaiah. Boom, there we go. Let's just make sure that's the right link. Yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube and want to join us up here on Zoom, there's the link. We'd love to have you. Go ahead and put your picks into the chat as well. And I'm excited. We're just a few minutes away from this game getting ready to kick off here. Oh, it looks like it's not on the same channel as the first game.
It's on TNT.
Yeah, I never
It's on
seen that
TNT.
where they had the first game on one channel and the other game on the next channel. I've never seen that. Yeah, it's interesting how the television schedules have aligned with hockey playoffs and NBA playoffs. I don't really watch hockey, but they're on the same channels, right? And they just kind of alternate and flip-flop through this. All right, so let's take a look at the Eastern. We're getting Isaiah up here. Hey, Isaiah, great to see you. And let's hear first from Isaiah. What do you expect to see happen in this game tonight, Isaiah, with the Pelicans and the Kings?
Well, I think with Zion being out, I don't really expect much from the Pelicans. The Kings, I mean, they're also kind of limping their way into the playoffs. They had a better showing there against the Warriors than the Pelicans, I thought. They played really good there, but when Zion got hurt there in the second half, they really fell off, and it was very apparent that most of the Pelicans' offense, if not was Zion, ran through Zion. So I don't really expect the Pelicans to put up much of a fight tonight, but we'll see. I mean, it's the playoffs. Anything can happen. This play-in tournament is probably the best thing that's happened to the NBA in a long time. So I'm really excited, but I've got Sacramento.
Yeah, I mean, they've got McCollum and Ingram, right? So they've got some firepower to match up with the Kings. They're at home. We shall see. Certainly, if Zion was playing, I think they would have won that game. When we scheduled this show, I actually was hoping we'd have Lakers Golden State tonight. That's the one everybody wanted. The Kings, of course, avenged their loss to Curry last year. Right, they lost in a 7-game series on their home court to Golden State. They avenged that and knocked out Golden State, which took down quite a few of our fans and regulars here who are Golden State people. So now they're out and Zion's out, and we've got this game with the Kings and the Pelicans here tonight. But I'm excited to see some good ball and see what these teams can do. Let's continue with our preview of the NBA playoffs. We went through the Western Conference. We're going to go over to the Eastern Conference playoffs here. And Alvin, since our game's getting ready to tip off soon, let's fast forward this right to the Eastern Conference Finals. Who do you expect to see in the Eastern Conference Finals? Who do you think Alvin can give Boston the best run for their money?
Honestly, I think at this point in time, the way that the East is shaped out, the Knicks, really, honestly, if the Knicks can get there, I think they have the best shot of knocking out Boston. They are a little unhealthy, but I think they're the healthiest contending team in the East. I don't really think 70% Joel Embiid can take down Boston. We've seen him at 100% or closer to 100% last year, and it just didn't work. So I don't really expect anybody except the Knicks. That'd be my take.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me, So the last week of the NBA regular season, last week, I went to visit my daughter. She's in her 20s and spent the week there and was completely unplugged from sports for the week. And I came back like on Monday and figured out, well, let me look up see where the playoff standings are. And I was really shocked. I'm like, the Knicks without Randall are in the 2 seed. How did they even get there? What just happened over the last 7 to 10 days that I was unplugged for? But yeah, the Knicks in the 2 seed have been hot. I know we've all talked about how we love watching Brunson. He's just a winner and a scorer. Um, but I don't know. I would have said I don't even know if they can beat the Sixers. To me, Embiid. Anytime you got Embiid, you got a puncher's chance at winning a game. Alvin, what do you expect to see? Who do you think will make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and give Boston their best battle?
Well, I was going to say the Knicks as well. The team that I really like, if we could have a Cinderella version like of the NC2A, I really like the Magic. For as talented as my young team is, the Magic has whooped us they swept us this year, and they have one of the highest rated defensive teams in the NBA. And that young squad plays very well. The only reason why I think they would lose definitely to the Celtics is because of the experience that the Celtics have. It wouldn't be for a lack of talent or competition. They kind of remind me of the, believe it or not, of the Magic that had Penny Hardaway and Shaq with the amount of talent and their dedication to playing defense. I really do like that Magic team, but I do believe it will be the Knicks versus the Boston Celtics.
Wow, comparing this Orlando Magic team to Shaq and Penny is pretty bold comparison here. I mean, they're led by Banchero, right? He's in his second year in All-Star. So, and I think, that it's very impressive what they've been able to do. We look at teams like Wemby, one superstar, he can't even get his team, into the playoffs. And it's not expected. Yet Banchero has come in and just his second year has this team in the playoffs. Obviously, they don't have any playoff experience, but they're on quite a run here. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
they have everything you need. They defend the three well. They shoot the three well. They have a closer on their squad, even though he's really young. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to at least make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I would never expect them to beat Boston because I truly believe that this year, gritting my teeth, being dragged and pulled, I have to recognize that the Boston Celtics are the team to beat in all of the NBA.
We're getting some background noise there, but yeah. So yeah, so interesting to hear you say that because I don't know if I could see the Magic beating the Cavs. I mean, a month ago, or around the All-Star break, I guess that's almost 2 months ago. It was the Cavs on a roll and the Bucks. I would have said those are the two teams that were most likely to give Boston a run for their money. The Cavs seem like they have a great starting five. The Bucks, of course, have Giannis and Dame. Anytime you've got superstars like that, you've got a chance, and they've got playoff experience as well. So it really surprises me that you guys can see the Knicks beating the Sixers, and then they'd have to beat the Bucks. I mean, that's really like running the gauntlet before they even get to the Celtics. For the Knicks, the Magic would wind up with Boston in the second round if they can get past the Cavs. I was thinking as a Boston fan that I'd like to play the Magic. If we get the Magic in the second round, I'm thinking this is like teed up for us perfectly here. If we get the Magic in the second round and then the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, in my mind, we avoided Milwaukee and Cleveland, the two most talented teams. Granted, those two teams have not been playing very well the last month or two. So, but Boston seems like a given to get to the finals. So let's fast forward it to to the NBA Finals and Denver and Boston. Isaiah, what do you think Boston has to do to have a chance at beating Denver?
Well, I think they match up very well now in the paint with bringing Kristaps Porzingis over. I think it allows them to space the floor a lot better and get Jalen Brunson or Jason Tatum isolated a little bit more and allow them to play their style of ball. Uh, you know, it's really hard to say that Nikola Jokic will have a bad night, or it seems like his bad nights are most players what they would like to have on a regular night. So it's really hard to see a world where they shut him down and they're able to do it successfully and shut everyone else down on Denver. But if they were to do it, it's to get Jalen Brunson and Jason Tatum the ball in space, like allow them to create the offense, do what they do. They're really good at shooting the ball. They have not shot well in the clutch. Jason Tatum is shooting 36% in the clutch right now, and Jalen Brown shooting 23% this year. So they're like two of the worst clutch shooters in the league. So if they're going to have any shot in this tournament, especially with as much firepower, there are a lot of teams limping, but as we just mentioned, the Magic, the Knicks, the Pacers. I mean, there are a lot of good teams in this tournament that if the Celtics have one of those kinds of nights, where they slip up, they might not even be at that final night. But at least against Denver, getting Kristaps Porzingis in the paint, under the basket, having him space Jokic out and get him away from kind of the perimeter and creating that vision on the court that he's done so well, I think is what will allow them to win that game, or at least the series as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what they brought Porzingis in to do, to be able to match up with Jokic and, Embiid and Giannis and all these big guys that are out there. And I think you make a great point. When we think about matching up, a lot of times we think about guarding those guys, but it's equally as much about being able to space the floor offensively. Kind of the Brook Lopez effect, right? How the Bucks are able to put their center out at the 3-point line, and it opens up the lane for everyone. I think that's been a big part of what's made Boston have such a great year. It seems like it's Boston's year, but I still think back to last year's playoffs when I thought that was our year, right? We went to the finals the year before against Golden State. It seemed like everything was lining up for us to go back again, with the Bucks getting knocked out early. And then they lost game 1 to Miami, and I'm like, we'll bounce back. Next thing you know, we're down 2-0, losing the first 2 at home. And then it was 3-0. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. What Celtics? Can't believe they're blowing it. And then they come storming back to tie it up at 3-3 and wind up blowing the game 7 at home. I think one of the takeaways for me, hopefully for the team as well, is they had a 6-game series with Atlanta. Boston did in the first round last year, and then a 7-game series with Philly. And I think that really took a lot of their energy out. And I look for Boston to come out and really try to finish off these first 2-round series, in 4 or 5, so that they don't get themselves into that kind of hole again.
I wanted to, as a Boston fan, I don't want to steal Alvin's thunder here. I know he wants to answer, but what do you think they do? Let's say the Knicks sneak up and knock them out in the Eastern Conference Finals. What do they do? As a Boston fan, what do you want to see happen?
In terms of going into next year, you're talking about?
What kind of do you think a major change is necessary, or like what would you like to see as a Boston fan going into next year? It seems like you're almost going backwards from your finals appearance. So and you've made this significant move in the offseason. Like, what would you think is the next thing that you do to try and be a contender?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, they've had such a great season, and the starting 5 is clearly a dominant starting 5. So I would not make any changes to that. I would likely look to see Brad Stevens come back on the bench. If the current coaching staff can't get this team over the hump, to me, that's coaching is their unknown. It's the weak link. And I feel like they would have been on the hot seat last year, the whole coaching staff, if they had lost to the Sixers, or if they got swept by Miami. They kind of saved their ass by storming back last year, and coming into the. So I wouldn't change the roster, unless if the players want to change the roster. Like if Jaylen Brown wants to have his own team and be the man, you can't keep somebody who doesn't want to be there. And I actually respect people that want to go do that. So I would embrace trading him for what we can. And I think one of the things that I've learned, and maybe it's because we had such success with Danny Ainge rebuilding the Celtics and then Brad Stevenson, is I trust these guys. It's like if Stevenson, like, I didn't like us trading Smart, but I trusted the guys that are running the team, that they know what they're doing. All right, our game is underway here, actually. So let's jump right over to our game cast. It just kind of snuck up on us and tipped off. We're having so much fun previewing our game. We're gonna have the game cast on with the stats. Let me get that up, and we'll have the audio on here as well. Let's just, Alvin, give us a rundown on who's starting for New Orleans, especially with who's filling in for Zion for your home team.
So who they have? They have Najee, Marshall Clement. They have Trey Murphy. That's who they're reaching down to be that fifth starter tonight. So I can see the thinking behind that. So you got Bi out there that can shoot the mid-range game, get to the cup. You got Trey Murphy. You got CJ. And you got Herb Jones, and you have I always mix his
Valanciunas, right?
yeah, Valanciunas. For some reason, I want to call him Nurkic, but yeah, Valanciunas. And then they're just going to reach down for Jalen Daniels as a six man coming off the bench. Like I said, the Pelicans has swept the Kings this season, and I know it's a tall order to ask them to get a 6-0 sweep for this year, but I think we have more than enough. There's no hope. I know we can do what Miami did tonight and win this game.
So is it going to be McCollum and Fox on each other head to head? Are they going to guard each other?
Well, I'm on pick and roll situations, yes, but it should be Herb Jones that has the assignment of Fox tonight.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. The Kings, as I just kind of skimmed these lineups, the Kings have a big starting lineup, right? They kind of start three bigs there. And if Jones, is going to guard Fox, then McCollum or Murphy's going to have to guard one of these bigs here. Let's check over. Or go ahead.
Valanciunas is going to neutralize Sabonis. He's a very good interior player. The only thing I don't like about him, he can't get off the ground. He plays the old tip game to try to tip it out instead of grabbing rebounds. And an interesting fact, De'Aaron Fox is actually coming home tonight. He's a native New Orleanian. A lot of people don't realize that he's actually from New Orleans.
Oh, wow. That is interesting. I did.
He's a kid that left after the storm, but he was born and raised here.
Let's see if we can get a replay on this Sabonis dunk here. Sabonis just had a nice breakaway and dunk. And let's see if I can get the audio here. You don't see him. I don't think I've ever seen him dunk before.
Right there, he has to step up, beat Brandon Ingram that we've known, the former All-Star. Right away, though, you see him being aggressive, trying to get into the game early. De'Aaron Fox, 26.6 points per game this season, just over 5.5 assists. Love it. Murray is fouled by Ingram, rotating over, and now 2 free throws for Keegan Murray, second year out of Iowa. I mean, look at this. First of all, great.
He got up a good 4 inches off the ground.
I mean, 6'10", 240 in transition. Great skill.
Yeah, Isaiah, what do you make of this Kings roster here? The trade when they traded for Sabonis. Do you think that was a good move? How do you like their roster?
I think that was one of those rare trades where both teams were kind of happy with the outcome. The Pacers really needed a player like Halliburton, and the Kings really needed a player like Domantas Sabonis to be under the rim and create that space for him. So I think both teams won out on that trade. This roster in particular, they're really hurting without Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter being out tonight. The going forward, this roster is fine tonight to beat the Pelicans. Going forward, though, this would be a really tough team to match up against Minnesota. Malik Monk is a really good player, and they might have him back some midway through the first round. I would imagine they'd probably sit him through the first round if they made it. If they're up 3-1 or 2-1. They might think about sitting him the rest of the round or the rest of the series, and make him come back for round 2. But Kevin Huerter won't be back the rest of the season. So,
yeah, Malik Monk, was in line to be sixth man of the year this year.
Yeah,
for the Kings. So that's a huge loss. I was really surprised that they were able to beat Golden State without Monk and Herder. Fox and Sabonis really stepped up. So they would play OKC if they win this. And, the first 2 games will be in OKC. They're likely going to go down 2-0 and be coming home. And that's when they're going to need Monk back by. I don't know how realistic that would be.
You're right. I keep forgetting OKC stole the first seed just right there at the end. You're right.
Yep. Yeah, a lot happened in the last week of the season there. But with Zion out and Monk and Herder out, like both teams, every team's dealing with injuries this time of year. So maybe in a way those are kind of offsetting. Although Zion, it really looked like it was going to be his time. I was really enjoying watching that game against the Lakers.
And CJ McCollum so important to this team.
Yeah, he was definitely amazing. Another tidbit is a part of that Warriors coaching tree. We have Mike Brown versus Willie Green tonight. So the Warrior spirit lives on through the Pelicans and the Kings.
Well, how do you like Willie Green as a coach? It's funny, he was like a role player, I think, on the Sixers. I don't really remember him playing much at all.
And I love Willie Green as a coach. Thing about Willie is that when we have embarrassing losses, he always has this team prepared to make the adjustments to play hard and play well after that. He doesn't have too many games that we're just going to lay down. They're always going to play their hardest and their best. Oh, come on, Valanciunas. I like him over our previous coach, who would always get us right there, but we could never turn that corner.
Yeah. All right, so let's listen in on some more of the game here.
Recognition by Sabonis, knowing Valanciunas has a foul, attacking him, being aggressive, getting to. They have a deep connection. Lithuania. They have played internationally together, representing Lithuania. Ingram drives in. Valanciunas returns the favor. And that's Ingram's game. He's not just a scorer. I mean, he can be a playmaker. Last year was an all-star. Great pass delivery inside. 6 points, 4 rebounds for Jonas Valanciunas. Barnes, kick, repost, has the height advantage on McCollum. Double team.
Oh, that's 2 dunks for Valanciunas tonight.
Last touch by New Orleans.
For Sabonis tonight. He got 2 dunks tonight.
Yeah, I didn't realize him and Valanciunas were fellow countrymen and probably have some rivalry going. That was an interesting tidbit there. To see Sabonis dunk, it's like seeing Luka dunk. I don't think I've ever seen Luka dunk either.
I was surprised when Kyrie dunked that ball dunked the alley-oop from Luka a few weeks ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, Kyrie has some hops. He's just getting older. He doesn't seem to get too many dunks either.
But I think we're going to see when Larry Nance Jr. comes in, we're going to see the Pelicans push. Right now, you're not going to see it with the starting 5. I think the separation is going to come when the benches come in and separate. I think our bench is a lot better than the Kings.
Yeah, that's a good point. Nance was playing well against the Lakers. I didn't even really remember him, since the last time he was on the Lakers. And so look forward to seeing Nance come in. So Ingram was out for a while, right? He's back at full strength now.
Yeah, he's back at full strength. They brought him back for the first couple of games with the minute restrictions, and of course with Zion going out. They are going to have to rest him so that he can close it out in the fourth quarter, but he's got to go full tilt tonight. I can see him going the majority of the game with Zion being out tonight.
Yes, is really his chance to on a national stage to showcase his talent. As a number 2 overall pick from 4 or 5 years ago now, he should be ready to emerge, ready for a new contract. You would expect somebody who's picked number 2 in a draft to be an all-star that's leading a team, and he's had all the stats. But I don't know that this, he has the national recognition at all. What do you think? It's like him there?
I do like him there, and I don't like the comparison of saying that he's a poor man Durant. Something like, because of the same linkiness and the ability to get to those spots and shoot that mid range and shoot the 3. Of course, he doesn't shoot that 3 as consistent as a Durant, and he's not at that caliber of player. But he has more than enough talent to even be the second tier or Robin. He proved a year and a half ago that he could carry the Pelicans on his own. It was a debate at one time. Do we really need Zion? He's the reason why people started saying that we could trade Zion so he could be with the Knicks, because BI was performing that well. Again, he's in the same boat as Zion. It's just injuries. Can we depend? Best availability is availability, and that's what we need.
Yeah, that's interesting take on Ingram. Isaiah, did you get to watch the Western Conference games on what was it, Wednesday night? Did you see these teams play then?
I didn't watch it live, but I went back and watched some of the highlights from the games. Which game are you asking me about in particular?
Well, these teams that are playing. So it was Lakers, Pelicans, and Kings.
Oh, well, the Sacramento game, I mean, I think more or less that was just a lack of Golden State, or not a lack of, but just more of Golden State disappointing. I think the Kings defended really well on the perimeter. I don't think we take away from them on that, but I just think that the Golden State really disappointed. And then, of course, when Zion got hurt, the Pelicans could not put anything together to stop the Lakers in the second half and keep up with the pace that they had playing. Even AD and LeBron both looked gassed, and they look, that game was for the taking for the Pelicans. So I don't know really who should win this game. It's the 8 seed, but both these teams are limping their way in. So I think whoever has the better showing tonight really should just win the game.
Yeah. Let's tune back in.
So many dribble handoffs right there. Sabonis. Well, it's technically not the playoffs. The play-in. So, if it was the playoffs, I think that might have been a bad call. We're in between. So, play-in, you're cool with it. No, I'm okay with that call in the play-in. Not in the playoffs. First Sacramento turnover of the night. 1 point lead for the Pelicans. McCollum on the move, picked up by Barnes. 6 to shoot. McCollum gives it up. Shoot is trying to finish it.
Sabonis leading the break again.
Bucks, early offense. Ellis walking the tightrope. Circles. Plenty of time on the shot clock. Fox will reload. He takes Murphy off the dribble and finishes in the lane. He's got 7. And he's going left, and you still can't stop him. Man, so fast. Kings lead by 1. McCollum lost it. Turnover. Sabonis
should shoot really well. He shot a career high both from 3 and the field this year.
He looks like Magic Johnson out there leading the break from a big guy.
That just demonstrates how the game has evolved 6'10", leading the break. Sabonis, few times in transition has excelled like that in the paint. Sabonis has 8, Fox has 7. Ingram dishing it out on a kick for Joe.
What do you guys think of Sabonis getting left off the All-Star team? It's he leads the league in double doubles. Alvin, you think they could have made a spot for him?
He definitely got robbed. He definitely should have been on that All-Star squad. He got robbed because of popularity for a starter at his position, and certain coaches around the league trying to get the other reserves on that team. But Sabonis definitely deserved to be on that All-Star squad.
Yeah, I'm with you. Although it's like, who do you cut? Everybody who was there, I think, deserved to be there too. I feel like they might have to, expand the number of players on the All-Star game because the teams have so many good players these days. Isaiah, who do you like best that's in this game tonight? What's the one player that you're going to be keeping your eye on the most from either team?
Probably Sabonis. I'm a big fan of his game. I love the way he shoots the ball and creates space on the floor. I love the tiff that he had with Draymond last year. He's just a real gritty player, and I think the league lacks that a lot. So I like to see that from him.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, De'Aaron Fox, I really thought last year the Kings were going to step forward and that Fox was ready to really step into his own. And Ant-Man really wasn't on my radar much last year. Neither was SGA. I thought Fox was like rising up to be, in that next category of players to lead the NBA.
Didn't he break his finger in Game 6 though, or something like that?
In the playoffs last year.
Yeah, I think he like sprained his finger or broke his finger or something like that.
Yeah, I think there was something like that in the playoffs. But
He
the
shot
real
like his
disappointment,
worst playoff percentage in Game 7 that he ever shot.
I mean, losing game 7 to Curry. Curry had an amazing, I can't even really remember Fox. I just remember Curry having an amazing game 7. I don't fault them for that, but I figured, hey, they're going to come back from that this year, and be right up there with Denver like they were last year. But they didn't. They really took a step back this year. What do you guys think is the cause of that? It's kind of like Fox is kind of like falling out of the favor. Any idea, Isaiah, what why Sacramento's taking a step back this year?
Well, they had a really good run there at the beginning of the All-Star break, but with the loss of Malik Monk and then Kevin Huerter, and then I think Keegan Murray was in and out of the lineup there after the All-Star break constantly. He's a really big contributor to that team. So I think they were just kind of riddled with injuries, and so their second half run just wasn't as good as their first half run. They were like a fourth or fifth place team, though, just right before the All-Star break, before they got hit with the injury bug.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, what do you think, Alvin? Do you think it's also partly like the West has just gotten a lot better this year? I mean, Minnesota and OKC have
I
stepped up.
definitely think it's because of the West has gotten a lot better. They had to take a few steps back. Like I said, the Pelicans they ran up against teams like the Pelicans that were very bad matchups for them. Like they had no answer at all for the Pelicans. Sometimes when the Lakers would come in, they just didn't have those answers to get the stops that they needed because they're not a great defensive team.
Yeah, that's a good point. They've never been known for their defense. They're gonna have to try to outscore you, and that only takes you so far in the NBA. All right, let's listen in again.
More psychological than anything else. But he told me shoot around at the arena that they're playing at is what they do on the road. And the Pels, coincidentally, have had the best road record in the NBA this season. I've been told that the team even looked into having the players stay at a hotel Thursday night to simulate guys being on the road. However, all of the 5-star hotels in New Orleans were sold out last night. Because of you, Jared. All because of you. You require very high standards at the hotels that we're staying. You also asked Willie Green if he's changed anything else about his preparation, like his undergarments. I didn't really know where you were going with that, and Willie said no. Everything has remained the same. I thought it was a little TMI right there. A little TMI, Jared. He likes to get to the core of the issue. Foul called. Murphy was trying to crank that one, and he got fouled in the process. Sabonis is second. So we've seen some changes for New Orleans as Larry Nance Jr. is in. Jose Alvarado is in. Now Sacramento will make a switch with big man Alex Len along with Trey Lyles for the Kings.
Well, early on, it's been turnovers. I mean, right now, 4 turnovers in New Orleans. They've scored 9 points to the Kings off those turnovers. That's been the difference here early.
18-15, Kings. Barnes, the back and creating space. Veteran play from Harrison Barnes for 2.
He's always under control.
Yeah.
Always gets what he wants. Harrison Barnes.
Now in his 12th year in the NBA, won a title with the Warriors back in 2015. Sacramento up to 50% from the field.
Boom, flush it down.
Alvarado, give it up. That's a deep one. Murphy, short. Rebounded by Lyles. Shovel ahead. Davion Mitchell now in. Mitchell's going to pull up. And he comes up short on a 3. Alvarado, head on a swivel. Switch. Now it's Nance against Len. The multifaceted Jones for Murphy. Drive. Nance slams it down.
And Iron Murphy, known as a shooter, but twice.
Just like you said they would when Nance comes in, Alvin.
Showing his versatility.
Yeah, Nance is more athletic.
Is 3.
But
Damn.
Alvarado, he's a guy that really impressed me in the Lakers game. He was playing really tough. Where'd he come from? I never really heard of him before this week.
I forget what university he came from, but he started as a two-way player that just played his way into the hearts of the Pelican fans, and it was just hard to get rid of him. And he just got better and better with the three-point shooting because we already knew he was a pest on defense. And he found himself a home with the Pelicans. He is very tenacious. He's not going to give up. Even with his stats, he don't care who you are. He's going to get up in your face. He's going to challenge you, and he's going to defend himself and his teammates.
Yeah, I'm just looking him up here to see where he came from. But yeah, he was really feisty in the Lakers series. Looked like he not series, I guess it was one game series, but he looked like he was going to kind of start a fight there. I was just curious where he came. Georgia Tech, that's interesting. 4-year player out of Georgia Tech. He's not somebody I'd remember hearing of. Georgia Tech hasn't been relevant in a while. So good find there. Top back over to our game.
Advantage of the Kings' mistakes and turning them into points.
The turnovers are killing the Pelicans in this first quarter.
McCollum back in. No look feet for Daniels, the young Aussie. Jones, they got caught in no man's land, and he turns it over. That's 5 turnovers for the Pelicans.
And a lot of active hands causing those turnovers by the Kings.
Fox using Alex Len's big body as protection, and it's out of bounds. He was trying to feed it to Lyles in the corner. And now changes on both sides. Murray checking back in for Sacramento, and we're going to see Najee Marshall for the first time for New Orleans as he replaces Herb Jones. 2:03 to play in this opening quarter. Winner will be the 8th seed in the Western Conference. Will play number 1 seed Oklahoma City. Loser goes home.
Now Alvarado guarding Keegan Murray. See if they can recognize that Sacramento.
Fox lays it in. He is a blur.
And you can't defensively, if you're a big, you can't be in drop coverage. You have to be at the level of the screen. Fox, too quick, too good.
He's got 11 points for Sacramento.
Oklahoma City's going to have that same problem,
Largest lead. Daniels.
and they need to figure that out.
Touch last by Sacramento.
And Larry Nance Jr. not quite there. You can't give him a lane, particularly to his left hand. De'Aaron Fox So good at turning that corner. One of the best in the game at doing that. Get it in, McCollum, and he stepped out of bounds.
Another turnover.
Another turnover for New Orleans. That's 6. Yeah, really, New Orleans right now out of sorts offensively. You talked about Sacramento and what they've done.
They're out of sorts because they are trying to do too much. All I need you to do is stay within yourself. Stop trying to do so much.
Sorts. Really not getting enough shot attempts on possession because of the turnovers. Zion Williamson played a career high 70 games this season. He played in a total of 114 games in his first 4 seasons. They went 7-5 without Zion this year. Fox off the heel. He's there to the rebound. Swinging around the perimeter. 9 to shoot. Just over a minute to go in the first. Mitchell, the hard drive and intercepted. Marshall steps in. Second turnover for the Kings. Nance, shovel for Alvarado. Penetration, flip it up. Doesn't go. Rebounded by Lyles. Early offense, Murray. Off the drive, the pirouette. That one go. Lyles couldn't jam it. Long rebound to Murray. Mitchell. Keep it on the perimeter here for Lyles. He's got a smaller defender. Cutter is Mitchell. Lost control of it. Turnover.
They keep showing Zion in the crowd.
Looks it over.
It's like they're going to show his face for a reaction, like they show Taylor Swift every time something happens in the.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. That's funny. Swifty Nation, Zion Nation.
Yeah, speaking of which, next week is NFL draft. I'm super excited, as I'm sure you guys are. I feel like this is going to be one of the best drafts for fantasy football and offensive football. Really hoping the Cowboys take Jonathan Brooks and I'm all in on him. Honestly, I hope they take him with their pick. And that would really put a lot of capital into him. And what do you have anything surprises or anything you're expecting for the draft, Alvin?
I'm not surprised by anything in the draft with the Cowboys. You're probably going to get your wish and get Brooke because the Cowboys are definitely looking to find supreme talent for low budgets in the draft. I'm just at a loss, to be honest. I've kind of resided in my mind. We may not even make the playoffs. The way that I don't know what my ownership is thinking.
It's
the
like
Eagles have loaded up on us.
CD wants a new contract. Dak wants a new contract. It's like looking like.
Well, CD is going to get his contract. Dak just came out with a statement today that he's not even worried about the contract negotiations. He's just focused on the season. He's doing all the things and saying all the things. But, the competitor in him, I think in Dak's perspective, he has done everything that French asked of him to do. From the outside looking in, people think that he just toes the line for the Cowboys, but it's totally different from that. When it comes to business, he does not toe that line. In his mind, he knows what worth is. He's not even worried about that. He knows that no matter what the situation is, he's going to be taken care of. And he did come out and say that he's not interested or looking to be the highest paid QB in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought if they extended Dak, it would lower his cap number, but then they'd be committed to him for a few more years. But CD's the one, because CD, I looked this up today. He's still on the last year of his rookie contract, so he's on the books for $7 million. Receivers are getting paid like $25 million a year. But if they pay him now this year, then they would have to. That would raise your cap number for this year. It seems like they're going to have to wait till next year just to make the accounting of it all work. And of course that leaves.
And there's really
Yeah. Yeah. What about Isaiah? What do you expect to see happen in the draft? What are you most excited about?
I'm really excited about spots 2 through 6, and even going into spots 7 and 8. I think that, a lot of people like the big Hollywood picks. Media really likes those. But, I really see someone like New York or Los Angeles moving up to that 3 or 4 spot, and or even maybe the 2 spot, and snagging Joe Alt or snagging Marvin Harrison Jr. just to secure those receiver or position players. I think with the mode that Washington and both New England are in, I think drafting a quarterback seems really kind of bizarre. And really, you don't really have a plan for the future right now. Why would you draft your quarterback? I think you kind of tear it down, get just kind of a veteran quarterback in there, and then maybe look to draft a quarterback next year. So I really want to see some of those Los Angeles, New York kind of come up a little bit and really go get their guy and solidify what they already have. I don't know that New England and Washington are so dead set on Drake May and Jaden Daniels.
When you say you want Los Angeles to move up, you're talking about the Chargers?
Correct.
You want them to move up?
Well, I think the threat of having the Giants move up and take Joe Alt ahead of them, where like Arizona, for example, I think that might scare them and make them move up as well. But I think if either team moves up, they're not moving up to 3 or 4. They're going to move up to 2 and 3. If that would be my thought process. Like if I'm the team and I'm moving up, why am I stopping at 3 or 4 when I could move essentially the same capital to come to 2 or 3?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a really fun draft. I was reading a bunch of mock drafts, and I think the record for someone getting the most picks right in any mock draft is 12. It seems to me like, the top 10 for this draft seem pretty locked in. But that's not how it goes. And once one thing falls out of place, everyone else has to adjust, and every pick that we thought was going to happen winds up changing. So I'm looking forward to a lot of surprises. Maybe T. Higgins getting traded, Brandon Ayuk getting traded. I think there's going to be a lot of wheeling and dealing, and it's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be the next time that we're on live, by the way. And I'm going to wrap things up for tonight. It's already 10:15 here on the Eastern Coast, but we'll be back on again for the draft, and look forward to seeing you guys then. Have a great rest of your night.
See you later, Greg. Bye, Alvin.